We are very relieved and grateful for the resolution of the case. This brings closure on the tragedy.
8 years to get answers to one of Columbia's biggest unsolved murder cases.
The big chill continues to take effect here across mid-Missouri with the potential for just a few more snowflakes.
Broken promises and still waiting while workers at one area construction site still haven't been paid. KMU8 News First at 5 starts right now.
Live from Studio 8A, coverage you can count on in high definition. This is KOMU8 News First at 5.
After 8 long years of waiting, the family of a murdered MU professor has the name of his killer tonight. MU police officials told us this morning they solved the 2005 murder of Professor.
And I'm Jim Rick. Thanks for joining us. Police say this man, Timothy Aaron Hogue, is responsible for the murder in January of 2005. But Hogue won't be going to trial. Hogue committed suicide last August before he was ever a suspect in the crime. KOMU8's Casey Kirshner is at the early morning news conference and joins us live from the parking garage where the murder took place.
I'm here on the 3rd level of Maryland Avenue parking garage where police say Hogue stabbed retired Professor Jiang Im to death on January 7, 2005. Police say Hogue then put Im's body in the trunk of a car parked in one of these spots and set the car on fire. Hogue was never a suspect in the crime at that time. It wasn't until later, when investigators received a tip about a month ago, that they even started looking at Hogue. But at that point, he had already jumped to his death at a parking garage in downtown Columbia. At the news conference today, campus leaders said they're glad to have the case solved that's haunted them for over 8 years.
And we trust that this brings to a closure this period of history, and out of it, I think we have all gained renewed strength and renewed faith and ability to work together.
What will continue to haunt those involved in the case is motive. Since Hogue was never a suspect while he was still alive, police could not talk to him about why he might have committed such a violent crime. Reporting live from Columbia, Casey Kirshner, KOMU8 News.
Here's a look back at this long, cold case investigation. On January 7th, 2005, Dr. M was killed in the Maryland Avenue parking garage. The former professor was stabbed to death and then put in the trunk of his car, which was set on fire. In October of 2005, MU police released a more detailed description of the person of interest. On January 5th, 2012, MUPD said they would look at the case again, sending evidence to an Organized Crime Information Center in Springfield for further analysis. The case remained unsolved until today.
We took a look back to find out more about the man accused of the murder and found a very violent past. KMU8's Giselle McCulligan has been combing through the details today of Timothy Hogue's life and joins us now with more.
Looking through Hogue's criminal history, I found a past filled with violence, drugs, and theft leading up to the professor's murder. In January 2001, Hogue was convicted of third-degree assault for threatening a local chiropractor and his family. The victim said Hogue went into his office demanding $1,200, threatening to break his hands and arms if he did not comply. The conviction landed Hogue in jail for 6 months for the crime with 2 years of supervised probation. Hogue's probation officer ordered him to seek counseling, including anger management and community service. He also needed a mental health evaluation and treatment. Later in October 2002, Hogue violated his probation for stealing and went back to jail. Hogue also had 9 non-violent convictions for drug paraphernalia after the murder just 2 months later in 2005. All along, Hogue demonstrated violent tendencies, so much so the victim in the assault trial did not appear in court, fearing for his safety.
He described Mr. Hogue as a very violent person, and from that, he felt that possibly he was the only one that would have known about this. So if it came out, Hogue would instantly say, well, you're the one, and come after his family.
Also in the year leading up to the murder, Pike County, Illinois issued a warrant for Hogue. We talked to the sheriff today, and he's looking up on those details for those charges for us. We'll give you more on what as soon as when we have it.
The M family came out with a statement today in response to the conclusion of this case. They said, we are very relieved and grateful for the resolution of the case. This brings closure on the tragedy to our family as well as to the University of Missouri and Columbia communities as a whole.
The M family and MU colleagues have lived this nightmare for 8 years, but current MU students weren't even in high school when the murder happened. KMU8's Danny Spiewak joins us live. Danny, is this a brand new story for some students on campus?
Well, if you think about it, 8 years, that's 2 cycles of MU classes that have come through this university and been there since the murder actually happened. So a lot of students I talked to today not really exactly knowing a whole lot about the case. And in those 8 years, a lot has happened. Police had interviewed almost 300 people, maybe more, or interviewed 300 leads or more. And in that time, you know, this really today reopened the case to the public eye. And a lot of students, although they may not have known a whole lot about the case, they certainly knew today's news was an emotional thing.
It's good to see that they bring back a cold case file, I mean, because a lot of those get shut down, I mean, especially after numerous amounts of work.
Never ever heard about anybody dying on campus, especially not in a parking garage, so it's kind of shocking, especially since it's right next to my dorm.
The one question I'm hearing a lot today from students is why? What was the motive? And that's something we'll certainly be thinking about for a while now. Reporting live in Columbia, Danny Spiewak, KOMU 8 News.
Here's an interesting recap for your weather. Monday's high, 77, a record high. Yesterday's high, 70 degrees, also a record high. Today, temperatures have been dropping literally since midnight. We were warmest right around then with temperatures into the middle 40s, and since then, all we've been dealing with, our temperature is continuing to slip, mostly into the upper 20s all afternoon. Now, we're finally seeing the tail end of our snow showers. You just saw that live shot there with Danny Spiewak. Just a few fluttering flakes still left around the viewing area. Much too warm to have any of that truly stick, but we will be dealing with cloud cover heading into tonight with our temperatures holding on to those middle 20s for a good portion of the next few hours. Keep in mind, though, the biggest weather story for tonight is going to be the intense wind chills we're expecting. Feels about 15 degrees cooler than we actually are at this moment, and that will continue to stick with us all the way into your sunrise hours on your Thursday. So we'll talk about not only your overnight lows, but the other big chill temperatures that we're expecting in the next few days coming up in just a bit.
Thanks so much, Rosie. Now, we've been talking about it all week, the Aspen Heights controversy. It took a new turn today after contractor R Energy's owner and the president spoke out with their side of the story. KMU8's Cody LeGros joins us in the studio. Cody, Aspen Heights promised to pay coworkers today, but did that happen?
Jen, no, it did not. R Energy claimed Aspen Heights was paying it today, but the companies never did any business today. Our Energy owner and president, Tony Barter, told me today workers should see compensation a week from Friday. About an hour ago, Barter explained his side of the story by phone from Orlando. Barter has been in talks with Aspen Heights all day and notified me that the last thing he wants is for these workers to wait anymore, and that he wants all these workers to receive proper compensation.
Basically, I don't want any slandering of my company's name anymore because it's not true, and I said I want to get these guys paid.
Now, Aspen Heights did confirm to me today that it wants to have all the workers paid by next week as well, claiming that it's telling contractors the money is coming. Coming up at 6, we'll tell you what the Better Business Bureau has to say about a similar Aspen Heights project in Louisiana.
We have an update tonight on the case of fired Columbia police officer Rob Sanders and his police dog Fano. We confirmed today that Columbia police have sold the dog to the small town of Clarence in northern Missouri. Police Chief Raymond Barton told us his department bought the canine from the Columbia Police Department last week. Columbia Chief Ken Burton fired Sanders in 2011 for excessive force against a prisoner. Sanders asked to buy the dog, reportedly offering as much as $10,000. We talked to Columbia Police today, who confirmed the sale of the dog but refused to say how much, telling us we would have to request that information under the state's Sunshine Law. But the Clarence chief told us how much he paid for the dog. He paid $1 for Fano.
I've wanted a dog for here, for this town, but it's a small town. There's little to no budget to purchase items like that. And I heard of, Columbia PD had one that they weren't utilizing at the time.
Barton says he'll perform a final evaluation of the police dog to make sure Fano fits the department's standards. He says Fano's main purpose will be finding drugs.
Syrian state TV confirmed this afternoon Israeli warplanes bombed a military research center northwest of Damascus. The station reports the strike caused material damage to the center, which is used to advance Syrian military capabilities.
Gunfire broke out at a Phoenix office complex.
And Gabrielle Gifford spoke out against gun violence in Washington. KMU8's Rachel Whittle has those stories and more in your First Nation report.
At least 3 people were hurt this morning after a shooting at a Phoenix office complex. Police say the gunman walked into the building's lobby, got in an argument with someone, then shot several people before fleeing. At least 1 person is in extreme critical condition. The gunman is still at large. Former Representative Gabrielle Giffords made a dramatic appeal to end gun violence today in Washington. Giffords read a powerful statement at the Senate Judiciary Committee hearing, urging Americans to act now to prevent more gun-related deaths. Giffords has become a public advocate for gun control after being severely injured in a shooting at a campaign event more than 2 years ago in Tucson, Arizona. And President Obama signed a bill last night approving emergency funding for victims of Superstorm Sandy. The late October storm is blamed for more than 130 deaths and tens of billions in property damage. The bill provides $50.5 billion in emergency measures for victims of the storm. And that's your First Nation report.
Do you make sure your kids get them?
Now the CDC says the parents better be getting their shots too.
Well, it's no surprise by now, winter is back with us. Might see just a few more flakes across mid-Missouri tonight, but we actually have a bit more mild weather in your extended forecast. We'll talk about the details coming up after the break.
And you're looking live over the Columbia Regional Airport on this windy Wednesday afternoon. This is KOMU8 News, first at 5, coverage you can count on.
So winter, 6 weeks. I know Jim's in
I
the
just
beds.
wonder if the groundhog is going to have bib overalls on, you know, when he pops out of that hole.
Punxsutawney Phil, you want him to have overalls on? Yeah. Sounds good to me.
All right, Rosie, thank you very much.
Sure.
iPads in the operating room.
Do you think they have an app for that? One doctor is using a new tool to fix knees.